Good afternoon once again, grade 12s, especially those guys who are sitting for the business studies paper the day after tomorrow. This afternoon's lesson will be on the forms of ownership with specific reference to those factors that can contribute to the success or failure of a business. Now, very, very important, I think it's important that you should know that this content topic of forms of ownership is vested in the main topics of business ventures. So it's the second one, business ventures. If you see there on the screen, the one in red, we are busy with that. Now, very, very important is when you prepare, I think it's absolutely important that when you prepare and you study a specific content topic, you must do it with the consent that you will be capable enough to answer those questions in different forms of, or let me say, the different types of questions, and especially on those of essay type questions. Right, so as I said, I have already tell you that we are doing forms of ownership, especially those contribution to factors for the success or failure of a business. Right, I will skip that one, but I think it's important to look at the overview of the content. You met in grade 12, sorry, in grade 10, the topic forms of ownership, and in grade 10 we do the definition, the characteristics, advantages, disadvantages, and the differences. And then in grade 11, we look into the establishing of companies versus other forms of ownerships. We look at the formation of companies and the memorandum of understanding. Now in grade 12, we only are going to recap. In other words, we are going to look into what we recap in grade 12 of what we have done in grade 10, the characteristics, the advantages, disadvantages, and then a comparison of the forms of ownership. But specifically in grade 12, we are going to look on how a specific factor or will contribute to the success or a failure of the different forms of ownership. Right. Now, you have done this already in the third term. You spent 1 week on it. Today we'll only spend 45 minutes on it and an hour and a half on it. And you must listen very, very carefully as we are going on to this. Once again, what do you need to prepare yourself on this topic? You need the examination guideline as well as textbooks and study guides. The rest of the things you can leave out for the purpose of preparing yourself on Wednesday is you need then the examination guideline and the textbook that you guys are using in the class. Right? We can skip this. The methodology, this is for the teacher, and very important, I would like to say to you that we are not going to look into the different advantages, disadvantages. No, we are not going to look at it. We are going to look at sole trader, partnerships, sole trader, partnerships, closed corporations, cooperative consumers, profit-making companies, which is a private company or a public company, and then there's also non-profit companies. Right. This one, at this very moment, I just want to say to you, we are not going to look into, we are not going to recap because of time. But what is very important is to answer the question on forms, on the factors that contribute to the success or the failure of a form of ownership. It's important to know the different types of forms of ownerships, which we have done in grade 10 as well as in grade 11. Right? There they are. We are not going to look at it. We are not going to recap on the advantages and disadvantages. But what is very important is when we are looking at this, we must keep in mind that we are going to do the sole trader, the partnership, the closed corporation, private company with limited liabilities, as well as the public company with limited liabilities. Now, let us then start with our factors that can contribute to the success of or a failure of a business or different forms of ownership. The first one that we are going to look into is the capacity. Now, before we look into this, very, very important, from a grade 12 learner, we will not expect in the final examination to come up with and give us the formation procedures, the advantages, the disadvantages, and so on. No, there are 5 outstanding factors that will contribute in the success or to the success or failure of a business, which you have done in the 3rd term in grade 12, and we are going to look into this. Now, for the purpose of understanding, I would like you to see what I have done to make it very, very clearly understandable to you guys, is that I have grouped some forms of ownership together and some other forms of ownership. Because of the difference in that, I have grouped that also together. So what we are going to do is, if you look into the slide, you will see that my first factor that can contribute to the failure or the success of a business is capacity. Now, what I have done, I have grouped sole trader, partnership, and closed corporations as forms of ownership together because of the fact that they are very, very small in magnitude, whilst private companies and public companies are bigger types of companies, and they work totally together, and they are also managed and totally differently as the 3. So very, very important is when we look at the 6 factors, it's important to know that we are first doing the first 3, which is grouped together. In other words, capacity will be the same on sole trader, partnerships, and closed corporations in the success or failure. Now, when we look into the success failure factors that can contribute to the sole trader, the partnership, closed corporation, in the form of capacity, we will say that the following success reasons are there. These types of forms of ownerships are easy and inexpensive to start. I just want to show to you. If you want to start a sole trader, you just go to the revenue services, you apply for a license, and you will get it. Secondly, the second reason for as a success failure, a success factor, is that it's easy to control because it is very, very small. Personal attention and dedication from the owner. In other words, in business terms, we talk about, in these 3 forms of ownerships, we talk about the fact that the owner knows business, the know-how. And partnerships, closed corporations, show potential for growth because the partners, the members in the case of a closed corporation, not only contributed their money, but also they can contribute their skills. In the case of a partnership and closed corporation, expansion is possible because more partners can join the partnership. And if more people join into the partnership, remember it's an agreement between 1 and 20 people. If more people join in, they bring more capital, and the capital can be used for expansion. And another success reason for capacity on sole traders and partnership, closed corporations, is then the fact that in the case of a partnership and a closed corporation, they could have a financial capacity to benefit from good discounts for bulk purchases. It is true, when you buy in bulk, the unit price is lesser than when you buy in small quantities. The failure factors as far as capacity is concerned, the failure reasons for capacity in the case of sole trader partnership and close corporation is the following. It is really difficult to grow on the long term for these types of businesses because of a lack of finance. It's difficult to control all the business functions. We have done this morning the 8 different business functions, and you have seen that each one of them is a mouth or a handful for even the manager of that specific business function. The sole traders and partnerships has got unlimited liabilities. Now what does it mean? It means that the sole trader or the partners in the partnership can lose their personal belongings to pay for the debts of these forms of ownerships. Another reason for as a failure factor is that partners, in the case of partnership and close corporations, they may struggle to agree on business issues. It is true. In the case of a partnership, there are 20 people that has to decide to get a common understanding of an agreement, while in the case of a close corporation, there are 10 of them. In the case of partnerships and close corporations, another reason for failure is the more partners or the more members there are, the more difficult it is to control the expenses and the drawings. I think when you have done in grade 10 the establishment procedures of partnerships and close corporations, you know about the partnership agreement and the memorandum of understanding. In the case of the close corporation, there the partners can decide on how much money each one of them will withdraw per month or per year or per 6 months and so on. Very, very important. Another reason for failure in the case of sole traders, partnership and close corporations is then it's difficult to appoint good qualified workers. It is true. If you as potential grade 12 learners pass at the end of the year and you pass very good, I believe you are going to go to the university and obtain one or another degree. And because you are now well educated, you are not going to go and work in a small business. You are going to look for big businesses. And then a last reason for failure is difficult to compete against big companies in the case of